Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Big Questions, Small Steps. My name is Amanda and I'm so glad that you could join me today. Today we're going to talk about another holiday that occurs in March. This holiday is known as Ramadan. Do you know much about Ramadan? If not, stay tuned. Let's discover it together. So the month of Ramadan is a very, very important month for people in the Islamic faith, okay? It is actually known as the holiest month in their entire year. Their year goes by the lunar calendar, so the phases of the moon. So the month of Ramadan is very important. The dates change because it's the lunar calendar that they follow. However, this is a huge deal for the Muslim population. This is the time that they believe the Quran, their holy book, was revealed to Muhammad, the last great prophet, according to them. This, again, big deal. This month, they have different things that they do in order to keep this month more holy. Their faith and their belief rests on 5 different pillars, okay? The 5 pillars are Shahada, which is they have to recite and profess their faith. They do that when they convert to Islam. The second pillar is Salah, and that's the daily prayers, the ritual cleaning that they do of their body to make sure that they're clean and pure to pray. The third is Zakat, and that's giving to charity. Giving of yourself to others is very important for people within the Muslim faith. And then the fourth, which is crucial for the Islamic people, is fasting of Ramadan. We're going to talk in just a moment about what they're actually fasting. And then the 5th pillar is Hajj, which is their pilgrimage to Mecca, which all of the Muslim or Islamic people need to do some point in their life if they are able. Now, the most important thing to know about Ramadan for people who celebrate it is they're fasting for an entire month. Now, they're not fasting the entirety of the month. They fast during sunlight hours. So depending on their belief, they will fast from daybreak to sunset, or they will fast from daybreak until the sun and the redness in the sky go away. So it's completely dark. So it's slight variations depending on which movement they follow. But they fast. And by fasting, I mean no food, no drink, and no sex. They try to keep themselves spiritually pure during those times. They will certainly eat and do things during the dark times of the day or evening times of the day, but during those daylight hours, they will not. So if you're working with someone who's celebrating Ramadan, there are little things you can do to make this a little bit easier on them. Don't offer them birthday cake, for example, because they can't eat it during Ramadan. There's different courtesies that you just do, knowing that they're going to be fasting. It's just rude to go out of your way to eat in front of them. Makes sense? But they are also aware that they are not supposed to stop working during Ramadan. So they will continue doing their normal things. It's supposed to be more of a reflective time to purify yourself. They don't want to live in shelter, but they want to really take onus of their life and kind of their direction. So it's a great time of spiritual rejuvenation and very intense rejuvenation, because when you can't eat, when you can't drink, things get intense pretty quickly. I personally probably could go without food for a day, but going without any drinks would be very challenging for me. I tend to drink a lot of water, and I tend to talk a lot, so that would also not work out well for me. A lot of people who are in the fasting mindset as part of the celebration of Ramadan, they've gotten used to it, but they also will get very tired because their body has different energy sources that it's using. It's just, it's a tough month. It's a very joyful month for them in some regards, but it's a very holy month as well. So lots of different things happening and in play. Let's talk a little bit more about why they do this. So I said it's about intense spiritual rejuvenation, but their purpose for doing these fasting, besides that it's part of the pillars of Islam, is they are looking for growth in their moral excellence. They believe by taking this time, they will grow to be better people. They're stopping the temptations of eating food and gluttony or engaging in sexual relations. They're stopping that to purposely focus on their spiritual gains, connecting with Allah, which is what they call God, and like furthering that relationship. So it's very, very important to them. Normally they pray 5 times a day, and they continue to pray 5 times a day during Ramadan. However, the evening prayers are slightly different because they have more verses from the Quran, and throughout the month, they'll cover a majority of the book of Quran in their prayers. And that's just what they do. So there's slight things that are changed. They don't change their whole work history and things like that. They will continue working during Ramadan. They just fast during the day. Like I said before, it is a very social time. So you will see families getting up before dawn to have big elaborate breakfasts together, and they will then go back to sleep and then wake up and start their day later. They also, at the end of each day, they will end with a date and water, a date like a dried fruit, and water. That's very, very symbolic for them, as far the water for cleansing and purifying their body, and the date just being that dried fruit, that core of who they are and what they have to offer. They will always start with that, and then there'll typically be a big social gathering with their family and friends afterwards. So the days are tough, but the nights are very eventful and very social, and that's kind of fun. I do believe if I had been fasting all day, I don't know how much of an interest I would have in celebrating at night though. And if I did one day, I might not for the next 29 days-ish in that month. That's a lot for me personally. But the month of Ramadan is very important for many people. There are other things that they also do during Ramadan. So let's talk about them. I already said that it's very, very social time. They have breakfast before sunset, and that at night when they can finally eat again, it's called iftar. That's what that meal is called. That's when they have their water and their date, and then they'll go and they'll have a celebration party afterwards. During sunlight, I already talked about, you're going to refrain from food and drink and sex, and denying all of those is supposed to deepen your connection to God or to Allah. Okay, very important. There are people who are exempt from fasting. So it is commonplace that during Ramadan, you're going to fast, you're going to withhold from all those things. However, if you meet one of these separate criteria, you can be exempt from it altogether. However, some people still choose to personally fast in slightly different ways. So let's take a look at who's exempt. If you are pregnant, you are exempt from fasting. If you're nursing, if you're sick, if you're elderly, or if you are a child. Those are the 5 groups of people who are exempt from fasting on Ramadan. Now, as far as the children go, typically they don't have to start fasting until they enter puberty. But waiting until you've entered puberty to all of a sudden stop eating for the entire day, that can be a big change for many people. So what tends to happen in the Islamic tradition is around the age of 7, they will start doing what's called selective or symbolic fasting. They will either only eat certain foods or not eat certain foods during those daylight hours, or a portion of the day. So maybe they don't eat lunch, or maybe they skip breakfast. They're going to miss a portion, and then they'll slowly build that up until they reach puberty. Because when you're 5, you don't really understand. So it's a slight change. Some people choose to start doing their Ramadan fasting at an earlier age. That's completely their choice. But according to the texts, puberty is when they start fasting. Okay, now if you can't fast because you are one of those 5 groups of people, then what you are supposed to do is you are supposed to pay for a poor person to eat for the day. You can either pay them or you could give them food. So again, one of the 5 pillars was about giving to charity, and the Muslim culture is very much about supporting the community and those around you and helping everyone's lives get better. So I appreciate that aspect of their religion, and I very much encourage and support that. Now, again, I said at night that they do special prayers after their iftar, and they will have verses from the Quran in their prayers. There are some people who during the month of Ramadan also take on the challenge of reading the entire book of Quran. That's some people's decision to do so they can study, and they feel that draws them closer to Allah. And if you aren't able to eat, then they can kind of distract themselves a little bit by focusing more on their studies. So that's how they celebrate Ramadan. It's a very, very important holiday in the Islamic faith. So if you celebrate Ramadan, then I wish you a good Ramadan and a wonderful new year. And it's very interesting to learn about these other cultures, isn't it? Because the more you know, the more you grow, and I love that. If you enjoyed today's video, please go ahead and like and subscribe to our channel. I would love to have you share more knowledge with me and me share more knowledge with you, because learning is a group effort, isn't it, after all? Wonderful things all the way around. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.